it's scary to be so close to a gun going off that you can see the muzzle fire, you can see the smoke, you can hear the noise, you can feel the percussion against your chest, and they're all happening at the same time. And he didn't. He passed me at a relatively high rate of speed. And then as soon as he passed me, he stopped very quickly. I'm going to guesstimate less than 40 yards in front of me. And it was on a curve, and he was at the very end of the curve, and I was off the road at what would be the beginning of the curve. And the sheriff pulled his car in between us. And at the time, I thought, okay, this guy, obviously had, done something wrong, but we still weren't even at all aware of the severity of the situation. And I just thought that it was a routine police matter, and we actually started to pull out and to pass this because we weren't part of it. And it was not a, wasn't our problem. And we were headed off to Copper. And no sooner did we start to pull back on the road than I saw the sheriff's door open up. And John, at the time I did not know it was John Seifert. I just saw the deputy get out. And he was clutching an AR-15 assault rifle. And I recognized that gun. And he was holding it in his right hand, and he got out and was, behind the driver's door. And no sooner did he get out than the whole thing was over in 20 seconds. I estimated 30 shots. I found out later it was 40 shots. But it was just pop, 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 pop. And I watched the, what do you call the person who, killed him?
The suspect?
Suspect, thank you. I saw the suspect reach out his door, and he had a black gun, and he just started firing. And Tanya and I absolutely froze. It was probably as surreal experience as I've been in recent memory. We stopped the car, and at this point, we were the same distance that the deputy was from the suspect, we were from the deputy. And then we realized that, my God, these are, I remember saying, my God, they're shooting at him. And I pushed her down on the floor, which wasn't too hard because he was on the way down anyway. And I got down as far as I could, and I was using the great pillar for the roof as a guard because I couldn't get down all the way out of sight. So I just got myself down as protected as I could. The deputy got out, and the shooting started to happen, and then he ran to the back of his car and took up a position on what would be the back right-hand side of the car, and then he proceeded to take him out. He did what he was trained to do. Start to finish again, 20 seconds, 40 rounds. I found out later that John Seifert, the cop, deputy sheriff, gun jammed the first shot. So while he was going to the back of the car, he cleared that and got ready for what he was trained to do. And I also found out later that a couple of the shots actually had gone into the driver's seat through the windshield. So had he not gotten out of the car the way he had, he certainly would have been in the line of fire, although I'm sure he was wearing a bulletproof vest. But it certainly would have slowed him up, if not changed the entire complexion of the situation. Two things came to mind. One was that this suspect, had John not stopped him when he did, could have very easily gotten out of the car or continued on the car, and he had well over 100 rounds of ammunition in the car and on him, and this could have been a much worse situation than the loss of Brian Mann. And from a totally selfish viewpoint, he could have conceivably taken my daughter and myself in a hostage situation had he gotten close enough to us. And that was prevented because the deputy put his car between us and basically created a barrier so this guy could not get back there. And I'm not suggesting he would have, but I can't come up with a whole lot of reasons as to why this guy stopped right in front of me, other than the fact that he was looking for an advantage, and maybe my daughter and I were it. And I will tell you flat out, he's a hero. There's no two ways about it. He did exactly what he was trained to do. It was textbook how he moved, handled the situation, diffused the situation, and stayed on top of the situation until he had backup. I know he's a SWAT instructor, I believe. And if he could have filmed that, it would have been a highlight reel for how to handle that type of a situation, because he protected my daughter and myself, and while under fire, was able to keep his head, put himself in a position where he could return fire, especially after a gun jamming, which I would imagine would be a pretty lousy way to start a gunfight. And he did what he had to do. Yeah. If you called me up 2 weeks ago, I would have been crying all the way through this. Yeah. My therapy on this has been to talk about it. And in fact, that's part of the reason why I let you come in here. I've told the story at least 50 times. And the first 40 were, my eyes were welled up and I was crying. You could not tell it without being overcome by emotion. Whatever the experience that I went through, is difficult as it was, pales by comparison to what Jill and her family have gone through, and what the Eldora employees went through in the pump house. As hard as it was for me and my daughter to go through what we did, I cannot imagine what these people went through, and I cannot imagine the pain that Jill must feel. I have 4 kids who have gone through the Netherlands elementary school system. All of them have been in some way touched by Jill. Jill did teach my youngest daughter, so I'm pretty close to her. Brian Mann was a good friend of mine, a very good friend of mine. I've known him since he moved to Eldora as a mountain manager.